You want to repeat this process over and over and over. But what you really want to do is you want to go as fast as you can without a capacitor, for the simple fact is you want to put a lot of this radiant energy to the source.
In this state, you see, let's see, we got three images here. One, the relays to the right, which I believe is the default position. One is to the left, and one is in the middle. That's not actually a relay position, more like the in-between state of the two positions, showing where there is no contact. And that's when the flyback happens. But we'll get back to that. Let's go with the on state here. We energize this coil up here with the battery down here. First, you got to turn on the switch right here. As soon as you turn on the switch, positive will go up from the battery. Positive will go up this way through the switch into the coil. I'm going to put a positive on this side of the coil. And here's your negative from the battery going up this way to the coil. Placing a negative on that side of the coil. Okay? That is what's going on here right now in this condition. And to add to what's happening here is when the coil gets energized, it creates a magnetic field right here. You're going to orient either the north or the south, whichever works best. And it's going to face this reed switch, which is magnetically controlled. And when the magnetic field hits that reed switch from here, from the core of this electromagnet, it will connect points B and points C. Here's B. Here's C. Basically, it will connect the negative over to this coil from this battery. And you have points A already jumped to the positive. Okay? So A already has positive 12 volts. It's like that constantly. But when you energize this coil, it activates this reed switch to then close. You want it in the open position normally. And when the coil is energized, the reed switch closes. And when the reed switch closes, points B and C have continuity. Here's B, here's C. You're basically shorting the points B and C, giving negative from the power supply to point B. You're putting this negative over here. I'm sorry, where is it? Yeah, you're putting this negative over to here, which is connected to here, which is connected to here. And that then sends plus and minus 12 volts to the relay to then activate the relay and have the toggle move and have these two arms here move. And when this is energized, these guys move. So basically, right now, the switch is on. And as soon as you turn on the switch, power from this battery leaves and goes, because this is the default position of the relay. So as soon as you give this relay power with this configuration, then the power will move to the coil. Energize the coil, close the gate on this reed switch, connects points B and C together, giving you your negative from the battery to point B. And point A is already jumped to 12 volts. So as soon as you do that, you energize the relay. As soon as you turn on this relay, and let me go back a step here. As soon as you turn on this relay, it's supposed to turn itself off, and it does so by activating these points right here with voltage, and essentially activating the relay to then move these two arms away from where they are by default, which will then disconnect power from here. And I'll continue with this with another image right here. Sorry, this one. So once the coil got energized, and it, as you see here, the reed is open now, meaning this is not getting power anymore. And that makes sense, because as soon as you gave it power and turned on the coil and energized it in red, you then opened up this reed and disconnected power from the circuit. But that's not going to stop. That's not going to stop these two arms from continuing on swinging to the left and landing like this, which is right here. Oh, sorry, here. There it is. And as soon as they land there, because you first energized the coil to move them in that direction, and of course at midpoint, the flyback happened. And at midpoint, you also activated this reed to open up and turn this off and deactivate power to the relay. But again, that's not going to stop the relay from flipping to the left like it is now. And by the time it gets there, it turns back on the circuit. As you can see, it sends power through here to the coil. It's a plus there. Sends the negative through here and puts the negative. Energizes this coil again to then turn off the power to the circuit again by sending a magnetic field to this reed switch, which is now closed, which once the magnetic field hits the reed switch, it's going to open and then disconnect power to this again, which will then turn off the relay again. And that will send the relay back to its default position, which is there to the right. But on the way there, it ends up in this position, which incurs another flyback event. And I'll go back into the flyback in just a minute. But it swings to the right back to its default position right there when you remove power to this section to give the relay power. You take the power away by opening up the reed again, by energizing this coil, and that's how that operation works. But anyway, it turned off the power, and the relay returned to its original position, which is right here. That's the default position, which then turns on the power again. And when you turn on the power again, it energizes the coil again, and it opens up the reed again, disconnecting point B from C, disconnecting the negative from B, because here's C. And then this gets no more power, and that then turns off power to the relay again. But by the time you turn off power to the relay, it's already moved into this position. and another flyback occurs. And it's going to keep moving over to this position. And again, you had turned the power off previously in the previous cycle by energizing this coil. But since all you had to do was give it one pulse of power to activate the relay to move from one side to the other, well, here you are. It moved from one side to the other. And now it's giving power again to the coil. So I think you guys are catching on to what's going on here. I went over this thoroughly. This thing does not turn off until you turn the switch off right here. So it's controlled by your manual switching of it, the power, the plus of the battery to the circuit. Now I'm going to go over the flyback channels on this circuit, which is just one image right here. Change the color to red, or let's say orange. Now, the flyback channels are shown in the arrows, and flyback only happens when the relay is in this position, when it's in midpoint between its two known positions, which is to the right or the left. It has two known positions, this way and this way. I mean, that's one position. Here's the other. Okay, but it's in between position is right there. That's the state it's in between before it gets to the other side. And that's enough time for the flyback to happen. But here's the flyback happening right now. Okay, so you had given positive to the coil here. Oh, let me go back here a second. Previously, you gave negative to the coil here and positive to the coil here. Because the gates were here, and the negative. I'm sorry. Let's assume that the switches were this way before, and your negative was giving here, and your positive was given here. And then you go to this position where the relay is in midpoint, and the coil has no power anymore, and the field drops and collapses and flies back. And then this side, which you had given a positive, becomes a negative, and this side becomes a positive, and the positive flyback goes through here, it goes through here, through that diode, high voltage diode of your choice, through the switch into the positive terminal of the battery, and the negative flyback goes this way through the high voltage diode to the negative portion of the battery. However you want to look at this negative, it's up to you. But either way, this positive here is going to pass through that high voltage diode, go through the switch, go through the battery, go back up through here, and it's going to go this way through the diode because it's a positive. Okay? So however you want to look at this is up to you. But the other way, the positive flyback is going to end up meeting the negative at this point of the diode. Right there, at the cathode of the diode. So that's that, and that's how you can see the flyback is happening. And it's happening in one direction every time, I believe. Right, yes, it's happening the same direction each time. It's doing the flyback is going, it's operating just like I explained here every time. It doesn't go any other direction because there's only one coil, and it's being energized the same way each time. Same poles on each side. And so let me explain more the reason why you need these diodes here on the negative flyback portion. That's the negative flyback. There's the positive flyback. Why do you need this diode here? You know you need this diode here because if you've replicated the BDNESG, you understand why. The reason why you need the other high voltage diode here is because if you don't put it there, this is what happens. When you're in this position. Let me switch images. Right here. And you're in this position, right? And the positive battery source, let me change the color to green. And your positive comes out the battery right here. It goes through the switch, through the relay, and then it will go down where the diode is not, and it will short out to the negative of the battery, and you will be losing power all day long. So you need that diode there. Okay, does that make sense? You can't go without the diode there, and you cannot go. Let me show you in the other position why you can't go without the other diode, which is over here, I believe. And here's your positive. That becomes a negative. Right now, you're sending positive to here, which becomes a negative flyback, and there's a positive flyback. Okay, so again, it's not a flyback yet right now, it's just that. But when you energize this way with a positive, and it will go up here, to the coil, and the other route for the positive to go would be down this way to here, which does nothing. It's no harm at all, just it's touching itself, doesn't do anything. But I gotta edit this image. There's supposed to be a this point's not supposed to be connecting. It's not connecting, actually. It's supposed to be like that. But this positive. Oh, right. There's the other diode. My bad. Okay, so the first diode was here. Oh, God, I lost it. First diode. Go back to the other image. We do this here. There. Okay, so you need this diode here because when the positive goes up here, it'll go down this way also without the diode and end up shorting to its negative, that sign. So we covered this diode. Now we've got to do the other diode. This one's covered. The other diode, we have a positive. Oh, there it is. It's this diode. You see? There it is. So when the positive comes out the battery and goes up here, if that diode's not here, the energy from the positive will go this way and it will hit the negative here. Okay? And that's a problem. So that's why you need that other diode here. Those two high voltage diodes block the low voltage 12 volts, and they also pass the negative flyback voltage because the negative flyback is properly biased with this diode in this position. So I will zoom in on this image and repost this video. That is the explanation of this double pole, double throw relay. Briefly go over this again. This is a reed switch, magnetically controlled. This is the coil that controls the relay. This is typically where you would put on the relay points, you would put your power supply there. Every relay has different schematic. I will erase the parts that I added in here so you can see the standard relay without my edits. And basically all this stuff is not here in the standard schematic for this relay. So none of that's there, you know, and that's how the relay looks. You know, you just basically have these connections like so. I added the switch right there. So that's basically what you have. You have pins 1, 2, 3, and 4, terminals 1 and 2, and then A and B is the power, where you connect the power supply. And then you have you also have these points here where you give your 12 volts to energize the relay. Okay guys, over and out.